I haven't talked about this really yet. That Kelly Dodd, she's in a fight now with Andy Cohen and his co-host on his podcast. Let's just summarize it. Look, we had an election. If anyone has been living under a rock, Donald Trump has won. He is going to be the 47th president of the United States. Kelly Dodd is extremely happy. And Andy Cohen took to social media. He was crying. He was telling his son, Ben, that we still love America. I am paraphrasing and summarizing a lot of this. We still love America. I guess Andy is not going to be moving. I saw yesterday, I guess Stephen King said he had put himself in a wood chipper if Trump won. People are now asking him to do so. You guys are just sick, I tell ya. But Mr. Cohen was very upset, crying into the computer, telling Ben that everything would be okay. Kelly then weighed in, and this is not a political podcast. Let's get to the point here, David. But I would like to have a political podcast, and I would like to be as unfiltered on that podcast as I am here. I think it'd be a huge hit, but we're not going to do that in this lifetime, okay? Mainly because there's no business model to have a second podcast. That's the dumbest fucking idea if you already have a successful podcast. So Kelly did chime in when Mr. Cohen was crying and saying, remember when you said I was on the wrong side of history? Remember at the reunion, she wore, the Drunk Wives Matter. She talked about it on this podcast. She got fined $16,000. Andy said she was on the wrong side of history. Kelly says, remember when you said I was on the wrong side of history, bitch? Again, paraphrasing. So basically what has happened is they went back and forth, Andy and Kelly, and Andy's radio co-host. And Kelly Dodd, rumor is, called Andy a sissy. So Andy and the co-host are doing the show, and Andy is laughing and saying, I heard Kelly Dodd called me a sissy. And apparently Jeff Lewis told Kelly Dodd to lay off Andy. Andy thought that was nice. And the co-host then calls Kelly Dodd a fucking pig and says that Kelly Dodd called him a communist. And he said, when a white lady Republican calls me a communist, I think they are just using the word communist because the word they really want to use is the, slur that starts with an F towards gay people. He repeated it. I guess we can just repeat that word now. I personally don't have a problem with it. I'm gay. I actually use it about myself often. But it does offend other gay people. So I have a friend who's like, don't ever use that word in my presence. I personally am not offended, but I'm not offended by anything. I don't have any feelings. People talk shit about me all day. People say the worst. Excuse me. I still have a cough. I probably have COVID. I said that before. I don't know. I actually, unfortunately, do not care. To be honest with you, I don't have time to care. This is the world we live in now. Millions of us are walking around with COVID. It's a cold. You get over it, and then you feel better. Really, I'm not having that discussion either here today, okay? But there is a cough, so just please, it is what it is. But do you want me not to do a show? Then I would really be in the ground dead. So the co-host is saying she really wants to call me the F word, which she actually used, and Andy agrees and says, well, she called me a sissy, so she probably does want to use the F word. And then he says to Kelly Dodd, the co-host, that you're not smart enough to know what a communist is. You dumb bitch, you fat pig, you are a grotesque. So what has made me laugh, which is, and again, there is no shade in this. I don't have any team. So that's where it's like, whether I'm feuding with Kelly, I don't care. I get over things in 3 seconds. So, I mean, it has nothing to do with my own feuds with Kelly in the past, because I'm really not in a feud with anyone. But let me just make that very clear. I don't care. You could come at me. I'll come at you. I get over it in 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Even people that like work with me business wise, like the ad salespeople, we have a moment and like I'm not shy. So I will voice my I'll voice my, what's the word? My disapproval on something that happened business related. And I'll be like, this really fucking sucks. And I don't know why the fuck you did this. And this is fucking ridiculous. And we should have done it this way. And it's whatever, which I only get like that when it actually possibly costs, $1. But the point is, then they were like tiptoeing around me an hour later. And I'm like, why are you tiptoeing around me? I'm so over it. I'm not mad. Like, I don't get mad. The point is, this video that Kelly Dodd then did really made me laugh because she then is in her car with Rick and she's talking about this and now is going off on the co-host and just calling him every word that there is to be called. But and Rick is chiming in as he always does. But after like a minute of the video, she pans around and I guess her mother's like in her 70s, I would think. I mean, her mother looks youthful, but she pans around and shows her mother. And it's just funny, it's even to begin with that her mother is in the back of the car. But then the mother starts chiming in and is like, Kelly's like, I didn't call him a sissy. My mother did. And then the mother is like, I fucking called him a sissy. Blah, 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 blah. And it really is actually just kind of funny. I have to be honest with you. So there you go. I don't know how we got there, but we got there somehow by asking who you want to have back because Kelly is inserting herself in a fight with very vocal this Dodd recently with Andy and with Teddi. Well, Kyle, look, here's Kyle, and the trailers looks a lot about her. Crystal Kung Minkoff recently said, which I keep bringing up, that she was hazed and she was told it's Kyle's show, and she's in charge. Oh, also, Alexia is engaged. She's 28, I believe. So we thought Farrah was going to get married. We thought other ones were going to get married first. Alexia is truly engaged, and it seems that Kyle is going to have a wedding. So Kyle, in the little clips in the trailer, but also through her interviews, she has come out. Kyle has come out of the closet finally and said she actually has been questioning her sexuality. No, we don't care. We don't care if you're gay, bi. We don't care if you're non-binary. We don't care if you're trans. Well, at least I don't. I mean, I guess a lot of the world seems to. And yes, I'm referring to sexual orientation and I'm referring to sexual preference. I understand those are not the same things. I'm college educated. Thank you. Not that being college educated means anything. Oh, please. You go to Yale and Harvard and blah, blah, doesn't mean you're going to be successful. You got that drive inside of you. So for everyone out there without a degree, you know how many successful people I know without a degree? But I'm not one of them. So we don't care. But when you're on a reality show and you're asked about Morgan or things and you just don't give us an answer, we actually do care because that's the job. So Kyla said that she's been questioning her sexuality and that and Shawn Mendes has said the same thing recently, that some days he has it figured out and other days he just doesn't. So Kyle has said that it is evolving. Her sexuality is evolving and her sexuality is changing, evolving and changing. That is what Miss Richards says. She says she's still figuring it out. Look, I'm still figuring it out. That's okay, Kyle. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We appreciate some honesty about it. And she says,